Welcome all to our sixth week. We are darn near close to being through with the first half of the term, folks. Our 1101 term is going to end in about 3 weeks' time. So, speaking of that, don't forget about that student learning outcome or SLO assignment that you all have to complete before or by this half of the term's end, by the 1101 half's end, so in the next few weeks. That is in Blackboard. You have to read the instructions and the essay and complete the assignment. And then I have to report how well you all did based on the rubric criteria that I believe I've shared with Miss Evans a few weeks ago. So please don't forget to do that. That's going to count as a class homework grade. So you do need to do that, please. So don't let that, vanish away in the background of your mind. And for this week, you have your argument and persuasive essay due. The one that does not require any research. In fact, there should not be any research. It should just come from your own sense of logic, of ethical grounding, and passion. Okay? What I'm referring to are the three classical Greek appeals: logos, ethos, and pathos. And by the way, just like we've tried to do in previous essays, although I haven't been really hawkish about it, you want to try to avoid, especially with this essay, and certainly the research portion of it, you want to avoid using first-person pronouns. So if you're doing, for example, the border wall, President Trump's border wall, if you think that policy of building the wall in an effort to curb illegal immigration is immoral, you would not say, I think that the border wall is illegal. You would say, or immoral. You would say, the border wall is immoral. See, all I did there was excise I think. I got rid of I, and I still communicate the idea that the border wall is immoral. Okay, so instead of first person, you want to go with third person. It makes your tone sound more objective and serious. Speaking of seriousness, those essays you all had to read, the William Hazlitt on the Pleasure of Hating and Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, there were a lot of instances of irony, of exaggeration, of satire, of kind of dark black humor. Now, they're trying to bring home serious points, okay? In the Hazlitt essay, it's the idea that we all kind of, if you'll pardon the expression, get off on holding enmity and resentment towards people. We kind of get a sick satisfaction out of someone else's undoing, okay? Or just sustaining that hatred for that other person kind of becomes its own engine fueling us, okay? Now, it's destructive, okay? And will sow the seeds of our own undoing. Perhaps you gleaned that from reading the essay. And with Swift, the whole idea there is, well, we have this problem of poverty and hunger in Ireland. We have beggars, we have people who are starving, and meanwhile we have these rich landlords and this elite class who are getting richer, and the gulf between rich and poor is widening. And so I know what we do. Let's eat the infants of a certain class of people. And he gives this whole device, this whole design of his modest, ironic there's nothing modest about it, proposal, okay? Well, rich people, landlords, if you've already done a good job of eating, figuratively, these people's lives, why not have their children and literally eat their children, okay? So it's kind of using irony and satire to prove a point, okay? Now, in your essays, I would caution you against using, at least predominantly using, irony and satire, okay? Only if you esteem yourself as a really skillful writer who knows how to use humor in such a way. Swift and Hazlitt were master writers, master rhetoricians, intellectuals, geniuses of their time. So we understand as close readers what they're trying to do using that kind of dark comic tone. But with you all, I would caution you against that. I would advise you, I would urge you, in fact, to be sincere and deliberate and genuine in your tone. Okay, so just argue for or against your topic. Okay. I've only had a couple of you, by the way, run by topics with me. Literally, I think only two. I believe one was about zoos can be viewed in a sense as, I believe the phraseology was internment camps. And there's an argument to be made there that zoos might perform some unethical function as imprisoning animals. Perhaps you could look at it that way. And then there was another student who wanted to argue about teacher pay in terms of merit-based system. And I signed off on both of those with some caution, and some advice. But those are good topics. So I know what 2 out of 17 people are doing. Okay. So keep that in mind. I'm about 15 short. So if you're confident and doing your topic, remember there's some things we want to steer clear of. The really obvious ones, the kind of trite, hackneyed, overworn, warmed over topics that we've all had arguments about with our friends at home or wherever, time and time again. We want to avoid those things, although they are kind of creeping up again. The abortion debate, I'm kind of thinking out loud in the moment here. If you wanted to, say, argue about certain things going on in the news today, like that governor of Virginia, I don't know how much research information you're going to find on this when it comes time for your actual research paper, because it's so recent. But if you wanted to argue that society should be more forgiving or more harsh and pointed in its criticism and punitive action towards the governor of Virginia for wearing blackface, okay, in his yearbook, allegedly, okay. So really, recent topical things like that, depending on what they are, could be fair game. Related to that, I believe that same governor approved a bill in his state in Virginia that would allow late-term abortion. And a lot of people are saying, well, wait a minute, we're focusing on this blackface thing. Surely that's problematic, as is the vogue word these days. But what about this whole killing a baby right minutes away from being born, or even after being born? Okay. Isn't that a problem? Okay. So usually I try to sort of turn down the abortion thing. But it's starting to come back in different ways today, okay? So if you have a unique take on these big hot button issues, if you have a unique perspective, I'm willing to hear you out at least, but you need to tell me about it. But as a general rule, I would encourage you to go for something a little more original, okay? It can be something going on in the world and the news today. We live in a very interesting time. The things we're arguing about today, some of these topics are evergreen, perennial topics, but they're kind of manifesting themselves in different new ways. The current president, like him or not, is kind of a tour de force, kind of a character. So our discourse we're having during these last few years is quite remarkable, for better or worse. Okay, so bottom line, I want to know what you guys are thinking about any topics you might have, and they don't have to be political or sociological topics. Okay, you could argue, you could make a proposition for your argument that more gyms need to be built in Northwest Georgia. in order to improve the health of its citizens. Okay, that's a position that you could argue. Okay, nothing really political about that. Um, so be creative about it, and clear it with me, please. We are running out of time. Your essay is actually due by the end of this week, the 17th. So it would have been helpful if more than two of you had come to me with uh, discussion about your topic, whether it's good or legitimate or needs some retweaking or not. But in any case, we are where we are. The discussion forum for the Hazlitt and Swift selections is going to end this Wednesday. It was open as of last Wednesday. I'll jump in and give you my 2 cents between Monday and Wednesday. So be on the lookout if you want to reply to my contribution in the discussion board. You're welcome to do that. So I will grade that and your SCC exercises after I've finished all the descriptive essays. Excuse me, and those should be coming back to you no later than Friday. I don't know if I have a blog. I can't remember if I opened a blog for this week or not. It'll either be open or closed, and if it's closed, that means we'll open one for next week. Okay. So I hope you all are working hard and being diligent and on top of things, and I am here for you this week for correspondence about your topic. So get in gear with that, folks, if you'll please. And have a great week. Week 6, we are drawing near the end of 1101. Have a good one, guys. Bye.